Thank you very much, and I think I'm sharing with one of my colleagues. You can, okay, with Mickey Brady, and thank you. Gráinne, first I just want to thank yourself for all the work that you have done on this. We have been meeting on this and we've been doing some work on it, but I think what you present here today is extremely concise and up-to-date and very thorough, and I want to thank you for that and all of the actions that you have taken, both in your engagement with the Irish government and with others, as was named in your statement. Michael and Eugene, I have been witness to your truth before, and it never gets any less shocking. I think it's very important to have what you have said here today on public record in the context of what is trying to be done, the unilateral action that is being taken to conceal your truth and the truth of other victims. So I thank you very much for that. We have unanimous agreement across this committee, Chair, on what needs to be done, and we share the lack of confidence in the British government to stop this unilateral action. So we have to look as a committee of what we can do next, and I would propose that as a collective in the committee that we would write directly to our own government, to An Taoiseach, to ask him what preparations, and I know we have written to the Attorney General, but directly to the Taoiseach to ask what preparation has been made for the interstate case, but also to the British government. I think we are the Good Friday Agreement Implementation Committee, and because of the consequences for the Good Friday Agreement, I think we need to write as well as a collective from here. I think there is an opportunity for us next week when we are in London and I know that we will all collectively make best use of that to see, even at this stage, if common sense can prevail. I would like to ask Michael one question just around maybe just how he felt when he got sight of the command paper, or maybe to Eugene as well. But I want to ask you, Gráinne, as well, what type of preparation needs to be done by the Irish government, and how long will that take? So we're saying we have a 16-week period after this is on the statute books to do it. So what can be actually being done now so that we can speed up the process at that stage? That's probably my main question. I want to let Mickey in to get his question. Thank you. There, Mickey Brady.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ciarán. There was really more of a comment because I just wanted to thank Gráinne, Michael and Eugene for the evidence that they've given today. And the murders as described were committed in my own constituency here. And knowing the O'Hare families and Mrs. Reevy particularly over the years, I'm well aware of the trauma, God rest her soul, the trauma that has caused to the families. Also, just in raising the issues that have been raised, I would like to mention another case of a 12-year-old murdered in my own constituency in 1973, Kevin Heatley, who had happened to be sitting on a wall in the Derry Beg estate when he was murdered by a British soldier from the Royal Hampshire Regiment called Foxford. Eventually, he was charged with unlawful killing and was released on appeal back into his regiment. So maybe that's an indication of the kind of justice that we can expect from any British government. And there's no doubt that this bill is designed to protect soldiers. It's not designed to protect anybody else. And the more opposition that we can continue to raise against this bill is abhorrent in what is being proposed. And you know, when I look at the cases, we had two 12-year-olds murdered, two innocent children murdered by British soldiers. Michael Williams, a paratrooper, shot Majella O'Hare 3 times in the back, was never ever brought to justice. Foxford, as I say, was charged with unlawful killing and was released on appeal. So I'm back into his regiment to probably continue to do God knows what. So I just wanted to make those comments, Ciarán, because as I said, the evidence given by Eugene and Michael today, all of that, those murders happened in my own constituency. And, you know, when you look back of what the Reevy families and the O'Hare families have gone through for 40 odd years is just unbelievable. So I just wanted to make that comment. Go to me the way I got.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. If anybody else wants to contribute on this section from Sinn Féin, or if Grania wants to say something.
I think we'll just allow time for answers, but maybe Grania, if you could tell us, if this is to go ahead, how many families would be denied something as basic as an inquest?
Okay, so on the, let me just say, you know, first of all, that, you know, that, you know, our view on this, and I know that's shared by the Irish government and indeed by this committee and others, is that, you know, the fulfilment of rights and the rule of law has to be central to the legacy process. And very clearly what we see with the UK government here and in this bill is them trying to legislate to put people beyond the law. And that is obviously a very dangerous and concerning a very dangerous and concerning, I suppose, situation that we're facing, and it's part of this broader trend that we're seeing from the UK government at the minute, where through a series of bills it's about reducing and removing accountability both of government and of, you know, various public authorities and obviously government forces also. So I want to stress, you know, to the committee that for the many years that I've been working in human rights, that I haven't seen a piece of legislation that has been as concerning as this. And there is a lot at the minute that's coming out of the UK government that is also of concern, but certainly in terms of the extent of which what this bill proposes to do and the potential for it to impact, you know, elsewhere. And it's a point that I know when I met with the US Global Justice Ambassador, Beth Van Schack, that she also was very concerned and also was making very clear that even through her work, holding up the Good Friday Agreement, you know, around the world in conversations around obviously post-conflict societies and trying to reach being a post-conflict society, that the significance of this bill was not lost on her. And I know that she also shared those concerns. So I don't feel that it's my position to sort of to set out to the Irish government that this is what your challenge should look like. But I think, you know, our submission and our briefing, which the Department of Foreign Affairs also have, it sets out very clearly where this bill breaches, in particular, obviously Article 2 and Article 3. And I think, you know, within that, given that we don't expect there to be any real meaningful departure from the UK government's position and what we see in the bill currently, that there's nothing stopping the Irish government at this point in making those preparations, particularly with the short window of time that will follow when the bill is, if and when the bill is passed, I should say. And then just on the how many families, I mean, there are those who are obviously, as part of the inquest process at the minute, there are those who, like for example, with civil claims, we saw a rush on the day of the bill being introduced, that there was a rush of civil claims and papers being submitted to court. You know, there are a myriad of reasons why victims may not yet have put together their legal challenges, and the 5-year cut-off point for reviews that this bill proposes very clearly isn't ECHR compliant. That isn't something that the UK government can do, and is something that we expect the European Court of Human Rights would address, and therefore also that the Irish government in an interstate challenge would address amongst the many points that would need to be raised with this bill. But I think, you know, for a range of families that we work with, the betrayal that they felt when they saw the command paper, first of all, and also then for the UK government to go on to claim that they had listened to some of the concerns expressed in relation to the command paper, and that was now reflected in what they were terming this qualified immunity. I mean, as we know, and as the committee is aware, the bar is obviously so low there that effectively, for example, a soldier would just have to give an account of information to the best of their knowledge, and they would then be granted that impunity. And it excludes, there's no room in the process, nothing being given over to the victims of the perpetrators. So, yeah, I suppose that's what I want to say on that.
Okay, we have a minute left, or I can take Francis Black. I think Francis.
Michael.
Or, pardon?
I don't know,
apologies,
Michael, or you
no, there's no problem.
Yep, just in terms of the command.
Yeah, no, there's no issue. I didn't realise. Go ahead.
Personally, Chair, I would like to just reiterate everything that Grania has said there, and the covering up of wrongdoing is totally unacceptable. And the vexatious claims that some ministers have lobbied Atlas is totally unfounded, because people are asking questions that need answers. They're not just thinking it up. It's very important that they don't be denied that. And so on that note, the bill is totally wrong for us. And it's not just about going about taking someone to court or anything. It's about getting the questions answered that need answering. People are not asking questions because there's no question. They're doing it because they need to be answered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you. Francis.